Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBabeCrochet.com, and today I wanted to show you how to make the Easy Beginners Flowy Shrug. Let me turn around for you so you can get an idea what this is going to look like. Of course, I'll show you up close and personal. You'll be able to see the stitches a lot better in just a minute. But this is an easy beginner project, and let me show you real quickly the construction of this. It's just like making a stole, just one long rectangle that just happens to have two armholes. Now the distance between the armholes can be easily adjusted and changed as you make this. All you want to do is find out what is the distance between your shoulders, or where your arms go in, on let's say your favorite sweater or your favorite shrug that you already have. So if you just measure that distance, and that's going to be the distance between your armholes. It's really as simple as that. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. Oh, one more thing. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. And if you could hit that bell for notifications, that way you won't miss any of the new things coming your way. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. That would really bless me. Let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. For this project, I'm actually using some yarn I've had in my stash for quite a while. It's Rossetti Polaris, and it is a DK weight yarn, which is a thinner weight yarn, and this is what this yarn is made of. Now, I do know that this yarn is still available on the internet, at eBay and other places. These are the stats on this yarn. It has 191 yards. Again, it is a DK or a 3 weight yarn. Now, if you have this type of yarn in your stash, by all means take it out. This project also works very well with any other DK weight yarn. And I will include some possible substitutions in the information, both in the pattern and in the video description below. I'm also going to put the number of yards right across the bottom here, so you'll know the yardage that you need to complete this project. Now, this is going to be somewhat size sensitive, so I'm going to make a size that would fit a medium to large. If you want to make a larger size, you're going to need slightly more. You're also going to need a size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook. And I'm also recommending that you keep a pair of sharp scissors handy and a yarn needle for hiding those loose ends. Well, let's go ahead and begin. Okay, now we're ready to begin. We're going to start with a slip knot. And now we are going to chain 112 stitches. Now, if you want the drapey part on the front of the sweater to be longer, you can add to this chain in multiples of 5. Okay, this chain is actually a multiple of 5 plus 2. So go ahead and finish those 112 stitches. After we've completed our chain, we're going to begin row 1, starting in the 4th chain from hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. And this is pretty much what we're going to be working for the duration of the project. Now we're going to skip the next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th stitch, which is right here, the 5th chain, we're going to work the same thing, 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Skip 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th chain, we're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. So we're going to go ahead and work this all the way across. Now, if I ever work too quickly for you and you need a slower pace, that's quite all right. All you need to do is down here if you're watching a computer, or over here if you're watching the left-handed version, there's a little gear. If you click on that gear, that will give you the option of changing the speed to either slower or faster at a rate that you would like to see. If you're watching from a cell phone, there are 3 dots up in the upper right hand corner. For the left-handed side, it's going to be on this side, and if you click that, it does the same thing. You can adjust the speed, you can slow me down, or you can speed me up should you ever get bored. So I hope that helps you all, and this works for any video, not just mine. After working this all the way across the row, we should have 3 chains left. We're going to skip the next 2, and we're going to work a double crochet, just 1 double crochet in that last chain space, and that ends row number 1. For row number 2, we're going to turn, going to chain 2, 1, 2, and for this row, we are only going to work in the chain 1 space of each of these clusters. So we're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 double crochets in that space, just like that. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, skip these next 2 stitches, and working again only in the chain 1 space, we are going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. Skip the next 2 stitches and the next 2 stitches of the next cluster, working only in that chain 1 space, 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Let's take a look at that. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. After working this all the way across, that brings us to the end, and we're going to work a double crochet in the turning chain space, just like that. And this is what you should have. Okay, now you're going to work this pattern, just repeating row number 2 back and forth until the width of this piece is according to the numbers in inches that you see right across the bottom. Okay, once you get that amount crochet, then I will show you the next step. Okay, we have completed 39 rows worked across, and the length of this piece is now 20 inches. And I just love the way this fabric is so drapey. It's going to look so nice and be so much fun to wear. I just love the little sequins in the way you just catch the light here and there. So now we're going to begin the row for the sleeve. Okay, this is row number 40. But before I get to that point, let me also say that if you want this section to be longer in the front, go ahead and add the extra rows now, because once you put the sleeve in, that will determine the length of the drapiness in the front. Okay, so this is row number 40. If you have the same number of rows that I do, the row numbers don't matter quite as much as using the measuring tape. Okay, it's very important that you measure to make sure that what we're about to do now is accurate so that it will fit you. Okay, so for my row number 40, or we can even say this is row number 1 for the sleeve section, we're going to chain 2, and we're just going to work the first 2 clusters the way we've been working, with 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets, and then do that in the next one, the next chain 1 space, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. Okay, now for this next section, I am going to be skipping 9 clusters, and in place of that, I am going to be chaining 45 chains, 5 chains for each cluster that I'm actually skipping. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and chain these 45 chains. Okay, now that I've finished my 45 chains, try not to twist the chain, but just hold it steady from where you crocheted it. and we're going to skip 9 clusters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. After we do that, we're going to go ahead and work in the next or the 10th cluster, and we just begin with the 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and we're going to work that all the way across the row to the end, and as always, a double crochet in the turning chain at the end of the row. Now to begin row 41, or the second row of the sleeve, go ahead and chain 2, and we're going to work in pattern stitch, which is the same that we've been doing, working in that chain 1 space, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And we're going to work that all the way across the row until we get to the chain. So go ahead and finish to this point along the row. Once you get to the chain, which is the other side of the armhole, we're going to start by skipping 2 stitches, 1, 2, and in that 3rd stitch we're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. Okay, now after you finish that first cluster on the chain, we're going to skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that 5th chain we're going to go ahead and work another cluster of the 2 double crochets, chain 1 and a 2 double crochets. If I can get that thread, there we go, and then 2 more double crochets, all worked in that 1 chain. Now we're going to do that repeat across the chain. Skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the 5th stitch, or 5th chain rather, go ahead and work 2 double crochets, and chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. Go ahead and do this until you have 9. Starting at this point, you should have 9 clusters. So go ahead, we have 1, 2, 3, do 6 more. Now these rows, from this point on, okay, let me show you. So this would be the front hanging in front of you, and from this point on is the part that goes across your back. You could follow along with me. I'm going to make mine 20 inches wide. That's from the opening here all the way across to the opening of the other armhole that I'm going to create. So now if your back will measure larger than 20 inches across, just make this section larger. And you may even want to have somebody measure you across the back, or take one of your favorite shirts or jackets and measure the distance across the back of that jacket that you like the fit of, and you can use that measurement. Now if you're an extra small person, or small even, you may want to make this only 18 inches across. So go ahead and crochet these rows to that distance. But this is what's nice about this pattern, is you can conform it to your specific dimensions. Okay, so go ahead and work on those 20 inches across, or whatever number of inches you would like the width across the back to be. And then I'll show you how to make the other sleeve. Okay, after working from the part where we created the armhole, I have actually measured this, and it comes to approximately 16 inches. That's the distance that I'm going to have my shrug be across the back. If you want it to be larger, you can go ahead and add more rows to that. But let me show you something that's nice about this fabric. It's very elastic. So even though it's a measured 16 inches without stretching, it can stretch several more inches to fit a variety of sizes. And I'm recommending the 16 inches really for a medium to large. If you want to make yours smaller, you can just maybe do 15 inches across the back. And if you want to go larger, you can possibly even go 18 inches across, you know, from armhole hole to armhole. Now we're going to be making the other armhole, but I wanted to show you that I ended at the top part of the shrug. And let me show you the other side. This is where it is near the opening up here at the top, so that you only have 2 clusters here. So make sure that that last row that you work is up towards the top, so that the armholes are you know, the same size and open in the same way. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat what we did for the other armhole for you. For these rows, we're going to work them the exact same way. We're going to chain 2. Again, this is for armhole number 2, which is the same as the number 1 armhole. Go ahead and work that cluster. 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Go ahead and we're going to do that in the first 2 clusters. And chain 1 and 2 double crochets. Once we do that, remember we skipped 9 stitches for the armhole. And again, if you wanted to make yours smaller, you can skip fewer, but we are going to skip 9 of those, and we are going to chain 45. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go ahead and work on this chain. Now that I've chained the 45 chains, I'm going to skip 9 of these clusters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then starting in the next one, I'll go ahead and continue on with the, actually it is called the fan stitch. I haven't mentioned that yet. But with these clusters with 2 double crochet, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. If you really like this stitch, you're probably going to be very good at it once you finish this project. I do have a baby blanket using this stitch and alternating the color yarns that has, you know, been kind of popular with some of my subscribers on the channel. And I actually really enjoyed designing that. It's a really fun but relaxing repeating stitch, and I think it yields a lovely fabric, which is why I'm choosing this for this particular shrug. But if you wanted to, you know, take a look at that, it is also on my channel, called the Easy Beginners Fan Stitch Baby Blanket. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish out this row, and let me just give you a heads up here. Once I finish that stitch, I'm going to go ahead and finish up this row, make my double crochet at the end, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to turn and I'm going to come back to the point where I'm about to work in the chain. So I will show you that again, but I'm going to go ahead and go down and back again, and then I will rejoin you at the chain. Okay, now that I've worked in those clusters in the chain 1 space of returning on the next row, we're going to start working in this chain. We're going to skip the first 2 chains, 1, 2, and we're going to start in that next chain. We're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and you guessed it, 2 double crochets, and then we're going to skip 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4. In that next chain, we're going to work another cluster, and that is going to be the repeat across the chain, working the 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets in the chain. After working this pattern of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets in a chain space, and that's after skipping 4 chains, we have 2 chains left. 1, 2, we're going to skip those, and then we just work in those last 2 clusters, working the 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish out the row with you here, and then I'm going to give kind of a large assignment. Okay, And I just want to make sure as I go, I'm going to review with you that make sure that you're working a double crochet in that turning chain space, just like so. So after you finish crocheting this row, I'm going to have you continue in this pattern stitch like we've been doing until this section, which is the other side of the shrug, is approximately 20 inches. Now, what you can do is count how many rows you crocheted on the other side of the shrug and just duplicate that number of rows on this side. That would probably be the best thing to do. And but it's always helpful to have your handy dandy measuring tape on hand so that you can, you know, kind of see how your progress is coming as you go. Once you complete the 20 inches on the other side, then I will show you how to work the perimeter round, which is going to add a very nice lacy effect on this shrug. So once the number of rows on both sides, on the opposite sides of the armholes, are the same, they are approximately the same 20 inches long, and they each have 39 rows. And let me just give you a quick view of where I'm counting from. Okay, so these two rows here, I'm not counting those that were part of the armhole, but starting with this row right here that is worked into the chain, that would be counted as row 1 of the other side. So do make sure that you have 39 rows if you're following along with the same sides that I'm making. Okay, now we are going to start working the perimeter round, which is going to go around the entire rectangle. And what we're going to do is we're just going to continue working the same stitch that we've been working across. So that would make 40 rows once you start this perimeter round. And then as we go around, we are going to work this. I'm going to show you how to work this in every other stitch along the side. But first, let's go ahead and to begin the perimeter round, chain 2. And again, we're just working in the chain 1 space. We're working 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets, just like we've been doing all along, and go ahead and work that all the way across until you get to the corner. Once you get to the corner, I will show you what to do next. So after crocheting all the way across, we're actually going to make the corner right here, which is in the space of the first row end. So we're going to turn our work 90 degrees. And in this first space, let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to work 4 double crochets. Notice I'm not putting a chain 1 in between. There's just 4 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work 4 more double crochets in that very same space. Okay, so we have, in a sense, formed a corner. Now we are going to be working in every other row end as follows. We're going to skip the first row end here, and the next row end we're going to work the 2 double crochets, a chain 1 and 2 double crochets, just like we've been doing. So we're just maintaining the same pattern, and we're going to go by skipping the next row end, and then the one that follows that we're going to do that same 2 double crochets, chain 1 and then 2 double crochets, and we're going to do that all along the edge, actually all along both edges. So I'll work this one more time with you. Skip the next row end, and in the next row end 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. So go ahead and work that all the way across this side, and I will show you how to work the corner again once we get to that next corner. Okay, after working this all the way across that side, it should look something like this. And we're going to skip this row end. For this corner, we're going to work in the turning chain right here, and we're going to do just what we did at the last corner. We're going to work 4 double crochets, after that we're going to chain 1, and then 4 more double crochets, all in that same space. Okay, after working those 4 double crochets, chain 1, and 4 double crochets for the corner, the first cluster we're going to work is going to be a little bit closer, but that's okay. We're going to be working opposite the space where the first cluster was worked along this foundation chain. We're going to work 2, let's go ahead and go all the way through 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets in that space, just like that. We're going to skip the next chain space, which is right here, and then we're going to work in the next circle, which is opposite this next cluster, and we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, just like we've been working, and we're going to work that all the way across until the next corner. So I'm going to work this across, and I will meet you at the next corner. Once you get to that next corner, once again we're going to work, this is around the first DC here, we're going to work 4 double crochets, a chain 1, and then 4 more double crochets. Well, let's try that one again. There we go. So you have another corner formed on this edge. Now this is still just the first of 2 perimeter rounds, so we do have 1 more round to go, and it's going to help define this even further. Okay, now we're going to skip the first row end, or the next row end here, as we work along the side, just like we did earlier. And we're going to work those 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And just like we did before, skip the next row end, and then in the next row end, and we repeat that again, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And we're going to go ahead and work that all the way to the next corner, and which we will make another 4 double crochets, chain 1, and 4 double crochets in that last corner, and then join with the slip stitch, and I will show you that once we get to that point. Okay, now we're going to get ready to work a corner. Notice that we're going to skip this stitch. Now this stitch up here is the very first stitch of the round worked. So what we're going to do is we're going to form the corner in this space here, and then we're going to connect to this stitch, and I'll show you how to do this. So we're skipping this space here, and in this space we're going to work 4 double crochets, a chain 1, and 4 more double crochets. And we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round, which is right there, with a slip stitch. And now, after finishing the corner, we're going to slip stitch to the first double crochet of this round, and then we're also going to slip stitch into the next stitch, which is kind of migrating to this chain 1 space. Do a slip stitch there as well, and this keeps us from making an unnecessary chain 3 in this round. And this is, by the way, the second perimeter round and the final round of the project, at least for the perimeter. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this actually serves as a double crochet in this cluster. This cluster is going to have 5 double crochets and a picot, and I'll show you how to do this. So this counts as 1 double crochet, 2, and 3. Now after the third double crochet, we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to slip stitch in the top of the double crochet by reaching backwards. Put our hook in the top there. We're going to do a slip stitch just like that, and then we're going to do 2 more double crochets, 1, 2, and that just gives it a little decoration there we like to call a picot. And we're going to skip the space here, and then we're going to go for the next chain 1 space, and we're going to do that again. We're going to do 5 double crochets. First we start with 1, 2, 3 double crochets, and then we're going to make the picot in the middle, 1, 2, 3 chains. Now we're going to reach around carefully into that top there and do a slip stitch, which is simply pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through without any wrapping, and then we do 2 more double crochets. Now if you find that this is too difficult or too troublesome for you, feel free to just make another round using the regular stitches, the regular cluster of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets if this is too confusing, or you can even just skip the picot and just do 5 straight double crochets, or you know, another round of another stitch if you would like. But I just kind of like the decorative use of this particular stitch. So I'm going to do this for you one more time, because I know repetition does help. Okay, we're going to do 3 double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3. After the third, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then reach around, stick our hook in the top of that last double crochet, and work a slip stitch, and then 2 more double crochets to complete this cluster. So go ahead and work that all the way across. When we get to the corner, I will show you how to complete the corner, and then you'll be all set to complete this round all the way around. So after working these across this first side, we're going to come to our first corner, and we're going to have a total of 12 stitches worked in this corner. And let me show you how we're going to do this. We're first going to start off by 3 double crochets, and then we're going to make a picot, 1, 2, 3 chains, and then come working in the top of that double crochet, we do a little picot. Now we do 3 more double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and another picot, just like that. 3 more double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and another picot, 3 chains, and then a single crochet in the top of that double crochet for that picot, and then 3 more double crochets worked in that same space. And I'm going to pause so that you can look at that. So we have 3 double crochets and then a picot, 3 more double crochets and then a picot, 3 more double crochets and a picot, and then 3 double crochets. So there are 12 double crochets and 3 picots, which is formed with those chain 3 and a slip stitch in the top of that last double crochet. And I want you to do that every time you come to the corner, and you'll know the corner because you'll have 4 double crochets, the chain 1, and then 4 double crochets. Once you complete the corner, then you continue working. Remember that this is not a chain 1. You're going to skip over this and go for the next chain 1 space, which is right over here. And we go back to the 3 double crochets, chain 3, and then slip stitch in the top of that double crochet for that picot, and then 2 more double crochets. Okay, so we're just going to work them all the way across till we get to the corner, and then work a stitch just like this, and just continue around until you get to the first cluster with the picot. Then I'll show you how to join. After working this all the way around, make sure that you work that 12 stitch with the 3 picot cluster in that corner, and then we're going to skip over these 4 stitches and these 2, and we're going to join in the top of that chain 3, which serves as the first double crochet, with a slip stitch. Give it a chain, give it a tug, and go ahead and clip a nice long thread, and let's go ahead and pull it through. There we go, and we are done with the final perimeter round. Now we do have some work to do. I'm going to show you how to work the trim around the armholes in just a minute, but before we do that, let me go ahead and show you how to hide these loose threads. So you're going to want to go ahead and get your yarn needle, and this is why you leave a nice long thread. Doesn't have to be terribly long, doesn't even have to be as long as this, but long enough to thread the yarn into the yarn needle. Now I'm going to do this with the back side facing. This is the front side, and I'm going to call this the back side facing here, and I'm just going to run this down carefully into these stitches, and I'm going to try to hide this under the corner stitches since it is the similar color. Okay, I don't think it would be showing much if I hid it under the other colors in this particular design, but just to, you know, cover our bases, I'm going to hide it under all of these double crochets around the corner like that. I'm going to pull it through, and I think that's going to be plenty well hidden. Take the scissors, cut carefully. You want to cut close, but not too close. You don't want to hurt your stitches at all. So that one thread is hidden. I've got many more to hide on this design, but I just wanted to show you how using this needle will really save you a lot of time and will help you to hide those loose threads much better than the old-fashioned way of just using your crochet hook. Okay, now we're going to look at working the trim around the armholes. Before you join your yarn, make sure that the right side, and this is the right side facing for me, this is the perimeter rounds, make sure that side is up. And I'm actually going to start, this is the shoulder part that will rest on your shoulder, and the underarm seam is actually right down here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to join my yarn at what will be the underarm seam. Okay, I'm going to join the yarn right in here, and I'm going to do a little slip knot. This just makes joining the yarn a lot easier, and it reduces the bulkiness of the yarn. And I'm going to go ahead and work a single crochet in that same place. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull down the size of this loop just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a huge loop. Okay, much better. After completing that first single crochet, I'm going to do a second crochet right next to it, and then in the next space, I'm going to go ahead and show you, I'm also crocheting over the loose end. You don't have to do it this way, but I think it just saves a little bit of time and helps to hide that thread. So I'm going to do 2 in the next space, and I'm going to do 2 in that next space, 2 in that next space. Okay, and then there's a little space here that where the cluster was crocheted into. Go ahead and put 2 single crochets there, and 2 single crochets over the next space. Now you're going to notice that some of these spaces are smaller and some of these spaces are larger. Don't worry about that too much, because this is just round number 1 of 2 rounds, and these are going to space out quite nicely. We're just trying to give the armhole strength. Okay, and then 2 in the next space. So go ahead and work that. There we go. Just 2 in each space. Go ahead and work it all the way along the edge until you get to the top of the arm, or the part that's going to rest on the shoulders here, and I will show you what to do once you get there. So once you get to the top, these are the 2 rows on the top that are going to rest on the shoulders. Go ahead and work 2 stitches in that 1 double crochet or along the edge of that double crochet, and 2 in that next space. Okay, now we're not going to work in the double crochets, we're going to work in the spaces. So go ahead and work 2 single crochets in that space, and now working in the chain 1 space, work 2 single crochets there, and in this space here, these are the space in between the clusters, work 2 single crochets, and then in that chain 1 space, 2 single crochets, and that is what you're going to work all along the other side of the armhole. I'll do just a couple more for you. 2 single crochets there, and 2 single crochets in that chain 1 space. And by doing it this way, you're still maintaining this lovely stitch. Okay, go ahead and finish, and I'll show you how to connect to the first stitch of the round. At the end of this round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round where we joined our yarn, just like that. We're going to chain 1. Go ahead and work a single crochet in the same place where you joined, and this should be a pretty straightforward round. We're not turning, we're just going to continue with the front side facing and just work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. At the end of the round, go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. Let's give it a chain and give it a tug, and let's go ahead and clip a generous thread so that we can hide that away nicely with our yarn needle. Let's go ahead and see what we have. Well, I hope you enjoyed making this with me today. If you did, if you could just give me a thumbs up, that would be great. And again, not to bug you, but if you haven't subscribed already, please hit that little subscribe button, and I'll have lots of new offerings coming your way. God bless. Bye-bye.